you have the Jets, the most hyped team since last year's Broncos. No, the most hyped team we've had in a while. It's on 10 right now. We haven't even gotten a Hard Knocks episode yet, so we still have so far to go with this Aaron Rodgers experiment. And then you have a team in the Browns who just a year ago were in the crosshairs of everybody and every NFL fan when they controversially signed and traded for, pardon me, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. In 2000, I believe it was 18, when Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. were in Cleveland, they were the Jets. Maybe a little, they were the hype team. Everybody, Baker Mayfield was on every national commercial, an incredibly polarizing player, and Odell Beckham came from New York and is one wildly popular player, and Cleveland was getting all that attention. Now, Cleveland's getting no attention, in my opinion. And because of that, I feel like there's no pressure on the Browns. They can, they have the most expensive quarterback in the NFL, and still people are not talking about them. And I don't feel like they have to win at a high level to pay off that expectation they created when they gave Deshaun Watson $230 million. I think teams like the Jets have kind of stolen all that hype, and therefore the pressure that comes with it.
Okay, the Jets are under a lot of pressure, so I'm not going to disagree with that argument. But to say that the Browns are under no pressure, that's insane. First of all, Kevin Stefanski's got to be feeling it. They go through head coaches like they go through toilet paper in Cleveland. So if he's not good, despite the fact that he won Coach of the Year not long ago, that means nothing in this league. He could be gone if they're off to a bad start, let alone have a bad season. So if I'm Stefanski, I don't feel good. And then if I'm Deshaun Watson and I, again, don't play well and I have this huge contract plus all the other off-the-field baggage that I've brought with me from Houston, this goes down as an all-timer, even for the Browns. This goes down as an all-time mistake that just adds to the punchline-ness, if you will, of Cleveland. Just like if Aaron Rodgers falls on his face in New York and this becomes a disaster for the Jets, same old Browns. The stakes here are so incredibly high for both teams, but to say Cleveland's off the hook, no shot.
Well, I hate to say it, if Deshaun Watson has the worst season in the history of football, he's going to be there for 3 more seasons. This experiment, they got a long way to go down. There's no pressure this year. So what if Deshaun doesn't do well this year? They say, well, he's still rounding into shape. It's like, he's got 5 guaranteed seasons
still rounding into shape. He's in his mid-20s.
I don't think that this is the year. To make Browns, listen, you have to be really bad to make Browns history. I don't think Deshaun can do that this year because everyone knows he's going to be back for 3 more years. This is a 5-year project. This is year 2.
If Deshaun plays as poorly as he did last year when he came back after the 11-game suspension.
He was 3-3, so it wasn't the biggest disaster.
Okay, but when he was in Houston, there was talks of him maybe being a top 5 quarterback.
Right.
Okay. And you look at, first of all, not only would Stefanski get fired, by the way, that whole front office is out.
No. Andrew Berry? I don't think so.
Because even if it was Jimmy Haslam or whoever signed on the dotted line for that contract, everybody's out. Because everyone looks so silly because they had no good answers for Deshaun Watson's personal life and off the field, right? They didn't have great answers for, whether or not he's been changed. He's never owned up to anything. Even now to this day, training camp, and he was asked questions about it, and he's never owned up to it. He called it a media narrative. I don't know if all those women bringing lawsuits was a media narrative. He will now have this big contract, and then if he stinks, it's going to go down as one of the biggest blunders in the history of the NFL. Everyone's getting fired. Everyone.
I don't know. I mean, so you're saying 5 years?
I don't know if it'd be 5 years.
4 years from now.
Well, they're not going to, if he really stinks, they're not going to, even if they're paying him, he's not going to be the starting quarterback for 5 years if he's really bad. Now, I don't think he's going to be that bad where he's like, not playable.
Should be fine. Even last year, as terrible as he was, he had sat out football for basically 2.5 years, and he was bad, but he was passable. I don't think anything's going to happen. I don't think there's any kind of time frame. There's no pressure. Like, Aaron Rodgers is turning 40. They got to make this work now. I don't feel like the Browns. No one's talking about the Browns and saying they better turn this around. And this year because they know that Watson is stuck there. They have no choice. I don't know why hire a new GM. He's not going to be able to make any moves. He has paid all his money to Deshaun Watson. Might as well wait it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I have seen, well, we've never seen anything like this before with a fully guaranteed contract for that amount of time. So I can't tell you there's a blueprint or a roadmap that someone else could follow or that the Browns could follow if Watson is really that bad. I don't know if he's going to be really that bad, but if he's just average and if he's middle of the pack, this is just disaster. And everyone's going to pile on Cleveland. And nobody knows that more than Browns fans, by the way. Because when you are used to being the punchline, you're waiting to become the punchline again. Ask Samter with the Jets. I'll tell you as a Bills fan, I'm waiting.
How about get shrapnel?
Because you're a Jets fan, and Jets fans always get shrapnel, just like Browns fans always get shrapnel. And it will snowball. It's quiet now with the Browns.
Dead quiet.
Now. Just wait.
That's
the thing about the Browns.
Yeah.
It's not controversial now. There's no drama now. Wait 5 minutes.
But
we'll find them.
They were pretty bad last year and nobody cared. They had that incredible loss to your Jets, Samter. It was one of the worst losses in NFL history. Guess what? Nobody cared.
You want to know why?
Because they were waiting for Watson to get there.
They were waiting for Watson, and I think there was a little bit of the Watson fatigue because it was such a difficult story to talk about, the massage therapist and the things he was accused of. So it was such a difficult story to talk about. And I think that a lot of people outside of Cleveland were kind of relieved when it came to a conclusion that he was suspended for 11 games and sort of put them on the back burner. They're going to be off the back burner this year. And if they're bad, they're going to get criticized.
First of all, I think if Kevin Stefanski gets fired in week 5, I think we don't talk about it in the first 3 segments of the show. Nobody outside of Cleveland cares if Kevin Stefanski gets fired. I bet you he's in the bottom third of coaches that you'd even remember their name. And I bet you he can walk in this door right now and not a single person would know it was Kevin Stefanski.
I think people would know.
Kevin Stefanski?
Yeah.
You picture Kevin Stefanski's head in your mind, right?
Yeah, well, he gets noticed because he's like a handsome guy, so people always talk about that.
Yeah. I think the Deshaun Watson stuff has put his face and his name on the radar.
First of all, he's not
Andrew Barry, same.
I don't think Stefanski's out. You think he's that answer? He's not a LaFleur.
Okay, well, whatever. I mean, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I'm trying to give the guy a compliment. But here's the thing. That's not part of it. But yes, it would be a huge deal. And I believe he's Vegas odds for first coach fired.
If you just take any sports network like ESPN.
Yeah.
How often are they talking about the Browns? Never, never, ever. And the other thing, they have so many excuses. And they're in one of the hardest divisions, just like the Jets, but it's a really brutal division, the AFC North. Nobody is picking them to win that division. In fact, this is the take on the Browns. This is the most common. Whoa, I didn't realize I had that much talent there.
Yeah. Sleeping could be under the radar.
Because I haven't been paying attention. I think you nailed it. There was fatigue about Watson that everyone forgot, and nobody wants to turn their focus back on them. They're probably going to be, if they're 7-10, then it's going to be, that's disappointing. Well, Deshaun's still getting used to football. I think that would be the narrative.
That excuse is over, by the way.
Well, I mean, his receivers, they have issues. Amari Cooper has been in and out of the lineup. Couldn't work out this summer. He doesn't have that much talent around him, skill position. Nick Chubb gets hurt by week 5 every year.
Okay, but there's other teams where the players get hurt, and we don't give them this kind of grace period. There's no more.
Yes, we do. We don't?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we didn't give Russ much grace period last year.
Everyone got hurt. Everyone's like, Russell Wilson sucks. He's not going to the Hall of Fame anymore. It's like,
that's a great example. Russell Wilson, he had so much pressure on him last year. Aaron Rodgers has so much pressure on him this year. Deshaun Watson, if he's terrible, I just don't think it'll be the same as these guys who are getting all the preseason hype.
Okay, well, I think there's also a part where, again, I think a lot of people think he's kind of creepy. And I know he was never charged with a felony, and I know that he settled all of his cases in civil court, so I'm being fair to him. But some of the details that came out were totally unseemly. So I can understand fans, media, whatever, naturally after we talked about it, kind of turn your back to them because why do we want to give Deshaun Watson any press, any pub, any praise or whatever, because we found out a little bit about this guy's personal life and it was pretty unseemly.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's ironically that sort of takes the pressure off them too. You're right. No one's going to want to praise Deshaun Watson if he's great, and because of that, I think we're not going to get that fired up if he's bad.
Ooh, I mean, show bet. I mean, I don't know how we quantify this show bet, but do we talk about the Browns? I think we're going to if they're bad. Who gets
more attention if they're bad? Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers?
Well, who's more likely to have a bad season, do you think?
To answer this first.
They're both going to get attention.
No, come on.
Well, Rodgers is a future Hall of Famer who is coming, who has never met a microphone he doesn't like, and he gives everyone so much. So I'll give you Rodgers on this because it's the tail end.
What about Deshaun Watson or Dak Prescott?
Well,
Dak Prescott times 1,000.
The Cowboys win every argument on who gets more attention.
Lamar
That's unfair.
Jackson or Deshaun Watson?
Now that could be even.
No way. Lamar, because he's got a new offense. Nobody cares about Deshaun Watson and the Browns right now. They are in no man's land, which is a great place to be for them because there's a good chance they're in that terrible division. I don't know.
You mean awesome division?
Yeah, I mean like terrible because they face terrible opponents. Like they're really good teams. Also, there's no Super Bowl odds. They're 14th in Super Bowl odds.
Wait,
Their
hold on. Though. You didn't answer my
games.
question. Who's more likely to have a bad season? If it's going to be Watson or Aaron Rodgers?
Definitely Watson.
See, but you're the person who wasn't sold on Aaron Rodgers and the Jets going to the Super Bowl like this is going to be a fairy tale.
I think they make the playoffs, though, and I think they're going to be pretty good. I think there's a chance that the Browns have a lot of talent, but these guys always get hurt. I feel like the Browns could have an injury-plagued season.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets players always get hurt, too.
Yeah, but they got this young crew around them. I don't know.
Brees Hall's coming off of an ACL.
But Garrett Wilson.
Their left or right tackle, whatever Mekhi Becton's going to play, he can never stay healthy.
Yeah, also, too, one thing about Rodgers this year, unlike Russ last year, he's got continuity on the offense because Hackett, with all his flaws, is still a West Coast guy. So I think Rodgers is set up a little bit more for success, where the Browns are just kind of thin up top, I think.
Really?
They have a lot of Pro Bowlers.
They are all been together now.
They have a lot of Pro Bowlers. I'm just saying they're a little thin. Chubb gets hurt every year. I just see some issues there. You don't at all? You love the Browns' talent?
I mean, I like the trade for Elijah Moore from the Jets, ironically. I don't know why the Jets couldn't figure out a way to use him. I thought he was a good player, and he was kind of labeled as like a steal when they got him in the second round, I believe, in the draft.
He wasn't even good enough to be on the Jets, and that's who they got?
Yeah, but I think there's something. I think that was the Jets bad. I don't know if that was the player or maybe an attitude issue. I have no idea. It just did not fit there. That's a change of scenery guy. I'd be more surprised if Deshaun Watson is bad. Watson's still also in his prime. I know Rodgers has had late MVPs, but Watson is still should be in his athletic prime, where Aaron Rodgers turns 40 in a couple months.
Yeah, I mean, I think the layoff with Deshaun Watson is a huge issue. I mean, you're talking about...
Oh, that's not a thing anymore.
No, I know, but everything he went through and everything,
self-inflicted.
It doesn't matter. I still think it's affecting his play. It's possibly going to affect his play. I mean, listen, I'm not saying overcome is the wrong word, but the guy has been through a lot, all his own fault. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like he's the same person he was in Houston.
See? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, so how do we whittle this down? The question is what?
There's no pressure on the Browns. The Browns.
Is there pressure on the Browns?
Pressure on the Browns. There was 4 years ago when it was Baker Mayfield. Nobody's expecting anything out of them. Show me one Browns Super Bowl pick ever, and if they don't make the Super Bowl, we're like, well, it's another rebuilding year. I'm sorry. It's just the way they're going to be viewed.
They went 0-16. No one's making them to go. In 2017,